That's right. This is the EVP podcast with yours truly, DVO.
Ghosty's over here.
He is. He's over here and over there.
Ghosty's over here.
All right. Welcome to a new episode of the EVP podcast. Well, over the weekend, we did an investigation at Benson Grist Mill.
How was it? I missed out.
You did miss out, and it was fun. We had a lot of people show up for our little barbecue. So Beaker usually puts together a nice little barbecue for us, and so we appreciate you, Beaker,
People
hosting
wondering,
that.
hey, wait a minute. Something's missing. Something's missing.
Speaking of Beaker, where is he today? Well, he's at work.
Yeah, he's doing his job.
Yeah. And so anyway, he puts that together for us, invites a lot of local paranormal investigators that we're friends with, and it was a good time. Good food, good fun. Go to our social media, you'll see our posted about it, and it was a good time. It was a good time for sure. So I heard a lot. I hadn't heard all the stories yet, but I was hearing some people kind of talking about some of their stories. So I'm gonna maybe we'll see if we can gather any of those, any good stories that came in, and we can share that on another episode.
Yeah, I want to hear about it because I missed out.
Yeah, but we're on this episode. We're not talking about the paranormal in terms of spirits. We're talking about the paranormal in terms of cryptids.
Yeah.
And so we had a good friend of the podcast, Nicole, came on, and you guys did the whole Bigfoot Bonanza episode.
Yeah, you like that one?
It was a good one. It was a very good one. It's one of my favorite topics. I love everything paranormal. We're talking about spirits or poltergeists,
Aliens, man.
aliens, and then dogmen, werewolves, vampires. I love all that stuff. You're into it too, right? You love it all.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you don't really
Things
believe
that I
in?
don't.
I'll tell you what, if you think about it, I'm not a big believer in Loch Ness Monster, Nessie. I'm not saying I don't think it doesn't exist. That's just one I find the hardest to think that it still exists today. How about you?
Not Loch Ness. I think it's more of like fairies.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the fairies.
Yeah, that thing is something that I don't really believe in.
Yeah, I might agree with you on that one. Well, we're gonna talk Sasquatch again.
Squatch
But
ass.
specifically, because on that episode you guys mentioned maybe we'll break down more of these individually. That was the Bigfoot Bonanza. We're kind of talking about a lot of them at once.
Yeah, we were just kind of going crazy, letting you know a little sample. Give you
Yeah.
a sample of all those little cryptid feet.
So let's
All the
get
big feet out there, just giving you little toes.
let's
Getting
get
our toes wet.
now we're gonna get specific, and we're talking about specifically the Pacific Northwest Bigfoot. That's what we're talking about today. So, what do you know about Bigfoot?
What do I know? Well, last time I talked to Bigfoot, him and I
Yes.
were talking. We were planning a vacation together somewhere in the Pacific
Was it like
Northwest.
Beaker's uncle or something?
Yeah, it's one of his great uncles. But I don't know. I mean, you know them being around 7 to 9 feet tall. They're covered in brown to black hair or fur. Supposedly they smell really bad. You can smell them from a far distance.
Yes. Yeah.
Their feet are huge.
Yes.
So you know they're packing big old socks.
That's right.
What else? Their yells. They knock on wood. They yell. That's about what I know about the old Pacific Northwest Sasquatch.
Do you like watching a lot of shows about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, all that? Podcasts, anything like that?
I like hearing about them and watching things, but like watching Bigfoot Hunter on, what was it, Traveler Discovery back in the day?
Yeah.
Trying to watch
What was
that. Money Man.
Moneymaker? Finding
Moneymaker,
Bigfoot?
yeah, Finding Bigfoot. That's what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, Finding Bigfoot. Yeah,
Yes.
Moneymaker. Was it Money Man?
Yeah. Yeah, Moneymaker, Bobo, Cliff.
Bobo, yes.
Renee.
Those people.
Yes.
Somewhat entertaining, but never any evidence.
Yeah. That's why he's the hide and go seek champ of the world.
Yeah, yep. For a show called Finding Bigfoot, they didn't really find anything.
Well, finding is in the present term of looking.
But they do get good stories from locals. I like that.
Yeah,
I like when they put those little meetings together with locals to come tell their stories.
Yeah, little town halls.
Yeah,
and
I
get
like
together, and then they go to the location, the stories they like. They go to the locations. I like that. So they do their. And it's gonna be hard to find like this. And we'll go into some. I also because I know there's the things that you just mentioned. All those things are what's I want to say quote unquote common sense, right? Those are things that are widely known about Bigfoot, which also, Sasquatch was Native American terms for it. But I want to talk about some of the things that maybe are not so common knowledge, not so much popular culture information.
You got the down low on the Squatch?
I got the down low.
Oh, shit.
I thought you would got it from Beaker's great uncle, but I guess you didn't.
No, I don't really know him. I was just making that up.
Oh, I thought you were...
Sounded legit, though.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to 1967, shall we? Let's go back in time in our time machine.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, two gentlemen are out going for a little horseback ride up in their area. Oh gosh, I don't remember what area they're in. I think the Pacific Northwest.
Most likely. I think that's exactly what we're talking
this
about.
is the Patterson-Gimlin footage. All right, so it's two gentlemen, Mr. Patterson, Mr. Gimlin. I think it's Bob Gimlin is his name. Mr. Patterson has been long past. Bob Gimlin is still alive. He shot the recording of Patty. So that's the Bigfoot that you see kind of that is strolling along like the
rocky coast.
The rocky coast, and takes a look back at them.
Swinging arm and
yes. I don't think it was specifically looking at them, just took a look back. And they got it on what, like 8mm footage? Is that what they were using?
1967 footage.
Yeah, whatever that is, something like that.
Are they rolling that shit?
Yeah. So he had it. I think he was. If I remember correctly, I think Bob Gimlin said that he was. He dabbled in a little bit of photography or video recording, whatever. And anyway, they caught this. It's the most common footage. It's the most popular footage of Bigfoot today, and still has not been debunked. There's a lot of rumors that have been said that maybe Mr. Patterson paid somebody, or it was him in a suit because he was tall. A lot of rumors. Bob Gimlin today is still traveling, talking at these conventions, Sasquatch, Bigfoot conventions. To this day, still says, "You saw what we saw. That's it." And he's older now. He's taken it to his grave that this is legit. This is for real. And I've heard him speak. I've heard him speak at conventions. I don't see anything that tells me he's lying. Like I said, he's older now, and I don't see it in him to lie. So that's the most common footage.
It doesn't look fake to me. When I've watched it,
Yeah.
It looks like skin and hair, and
Right.
I mean, the body doesn't look like it's like getting droopy, like it's a costume. Costumes never wear perfect unless you're working in Hollywood, but there's always like droopy things or things like that. Looks like it's actual mass, and it's like solid, and it's got hair coming out of it.
It does. And it's been analyzed, it's been broken down, analyzed thousands of times, and more recently, I wouldn't say more recently, but in the last 10 years or 15 years, it is now, they're calling it Patty because they can see breast. Like
She's got the boobs.
She's got some boobies. And, I don't know if I can tell with that. I'm not familiar with all the different cup sizes of squatchiness.
You haven't seen all the different Squatch boobs?
No, not yet. I mean, I'd love to.
Let's compare Pacific Northwest Squatch boobs to Yowie boobs.
Right. That might be a good episode. Now, I enjoy watching a lot of podcasts and shows about Bigfoot. I find it fascinating. This is why I find it fascinating. I think it's a possibility that it can still be around today because it is a known fact that it did exist. Gigantopithecus really did exist. That is a known fact, which is a giant ape, bipedal giant ape. That is a fact that it existed. We have remains and everything that proves it.
Fossils.
Yeah. So what I love about the idea of Bigfoot is that I think it still can exist today. Do I think it still exists today? What do you think? Or do you want to answer that later?
We can answer it now or later. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I think it exists.
You do think it exists?
Yeah.
And I think it's very possible that it does exist. And there's so many stories that come in all the time. Like I listen to podcasts and stuff like that. Of course, my favorite podcast is EVP podcast, but there's a lot of like specific Sasquatch, Bigfoot podcasts. Tons of stories are in, tons and tons. And if just one story is true, then they exist. Just one of those stories have to be true, and it does exist. So
There's
that's
some
what
stories in places that I wouldn't believe there to be one. Like here in Utah, there's a canyon called Provo Canyon, and there's sightings there, and people have reported sightings up and down that canyon. I don't believe there would be a Sasquatch in that canyon, just mainly because, for one, it's probably the most trafficked canyon in the Utah.
Yeah,
Probably.
people are hiking, camping, picnicking.
There's rivers, there's fishing, there's tubing.
Yeah.
And it's a major, pretty much a highway that connects a couple different cities. So
And counties.
Yeah, counties. So I really wouldn't imagine a Sasquatch that's trying to hide from people to be in the most trafficked area of Utah.
What about the Hyenas?
Hyenas, yes, because there is vast amounts of land where nobody goes.
Snow basin.
Yes, yeah, I could imagine that.
And I say that because there are recorded sightings in both those locations.
And see, in both those places, I could imagine that, and I would be
agree.
more inclined to listen to those stories. But if somebody's telling me a story and they start off with, so this one time in Provo Canyon, I'd be like, I'm done listening to you.
15 minutes from a major city.
Yeah, I'm done listening to your story. Next.
True. Okay, so let's talk about some things. Rumors are they like to...
That he's gay.
No, he's not. He's savage. He's a savage in the sack. That they like to travel. So what I want to do, anyway, is talk about maybe some, like I said, maybe not so mainstream popular things about them. They like to travel along telephone wires, electrical wires. They use that as a coordination, as a means of traveling. So there's been a lot of sightings along paths of, again, like telephone wires, because they use that as a
So you
source
think
of
there
direction.
might be like, so you know those people that work on those those wires out there, do they have a lot of stories?
Yes, they do.
What?
I've heard so many stories. It's gonna be hard for me to put them in.
Don't mix them all together.
Yeah, and remember them all to detail, because my bandwidth is getting very minimal. The more I listen to podcasts and audiobooks, my bandwidth is shrinking of what I can contain.
Need more brain.
Retain.
Need more brain.
And so yeah, there are stories of people like construction workers, things like that have seen stories, especially when it gets later in the evening. There's rumors that they're more nocturnal than, what do we call us, daywalkers?
The day squatches.
Yeah. So there's a lot of evidence that shows that they might be more on the nocturnal side. So as they're like towards the end of their shift, that's when they start seeing more activity, because it's getting dusk and it's getting a little darker. So yeah, there are some stories about like construction workers out there.
Because for the most part, from some things that we've seen, the Bigfoot like to stay still. Like they're on watch and staying still and clicking and knocking. So I can imagine during the daytime, they're probably not seeing much action of Bigfoot during the day, but I guess...
Well, I think what you're stating when you say they don't move so much, I think those are more like scouts. They're like, hey, okay, the family's sleeping, they're hibernating, they're sleeping, whatever. So there's scouts that are just kind of more on the down low.
So they all have a role they play.
Yes.
But I wonder if that's just in certain clans. I wonder if there's clans of Squatches and
there are clans.
What?
No, I think so. And the reason I say that is if you think of like great apes, like chimps, gorillas,
yeah, they
all have clans and stuff
yeah.
like that. Yeah, so I think they're very close linked to that.
So you'd think, I wonder how far back they're like, do they communicate with each other? Do they fight each other? Is there Squatch fights of different clans? Are there Squatch slaves? Do they take Squatches as slaves? Oh my God, what goes on?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you think about, there was a clan of maybe it was silverbacks or definitely gorillas though, in a very secluded area, that there were rumors about these, and then they just stumbled upon a whole bunch of them. I think it was in, oh gosh, I don't remember
The
where.
70s or something. 60s, 70s.
I don't remember when, but or in the location. Was it Africa? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was Africa.
It was like some jungles in Africa.
Yeah, things of silverback gorillas. They just kind of...
Yeah, there was rumors of this type of breed in the area, and then they stumbled across a
valley.
Like, oh my gosh, here they are. And so it's easy to get lost in like these wooded areas. People get lost all the time.
But yeah, people talk about the natives talk about it for however many hundreds, if not thousands of years that they've known of them.
Mm-hmm. And they've got stories too, right? Where they think that they can. Here's some other stories people might not know about, that they kind of cloak themselves, similar to the Predator movie, where it's like camouflage, but you can kind of see a blur.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second.
Oh, so you're saying Native Americans are liars? Oh, interesting.
That sounds too technical for a Squatch.
Well,
We'll talk about it. They have no shame, okay? And then you're telling me that they can also cloak themselves into invisibility shit? No, I don't buy it.
Well, it might not be like invisibility, and that's kind of what they made it sound like, but it could be something that they have that kind of gives off maybe like a reflection. Because I've seen people like preppers, people like that they make like bug out places, like stands up in trees, and they actually put. So it's made out of wood, but they put mirrors all around it. And so maybe they have something like that. I mean, I'm not saying that they have mirrors, but maybe there's something out there that they are using that kind of gives off like a reflection to kind of...
No, I think it's just their hair. And you've seen ghillie suits.
Oh, okay. So I see what you're saying.
Ghillie suits, they look like it's like a big mossy lump of shit. So anyways, hairy and everything, and just same color as wood and rocks and everything. Yeah, just blend right in. Just close their eyes and their mouth.
Yeah, true. So let's talk about some other things too, that they make structures. And it was long rumored for a long time that these structures might be shelter, bedding.
Yeah, they never looked like much for shelters because they were always like just wood, just kind of like folded together.
Right. And so now researchers are thinking, because they still run across these structures. And some of these structures, they can't imagine anyone doing this
because they're too tall to reach.
They're really tall.
And it takes a lot of like strength to pull these into each other.
And some trees are pulled out of the roots.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a lot of power. And you're not going to get in bobcats or excavators up there in these areas to pull these trees out. You're going to see a path that they travel on. So they can't explain that. So they're also thinking that some of these structures that are built are maybe also parts of direction or compass use, where they're guiding maybe their clan or whatever to a certain area. Hey, this is where we're moving to. This is where there's food. Hey, it's getting cold here. Let's relocate to this area.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
So whenever you see these structures, there's always like a few different styles. There's a few styles. So
like teepee style.
Yeah. But then there's others that are more like flat on top or So anyways, I wonder if those distinguish the different clans. Like this clan lives here.
Or a certain direction. It tells maybe it guides, maybe it's a way of guidance.
Guidance or clan markings.
Yeah. This group uses this.
We're the teepee clan. We're the flat top clan.
Yeah. See, there you go. So that's just some more recent kind of discovery that they think maybe it's not really shelter or bedding, but possibly just used for communication of some sort. These structures. It also might be like a way to like show dominance maybe to other clans too. Like, hey, look at this tree we just pulled out. Imagine what we'll do to your face.
Yeah, imagine that's your torso coming out of your bottom half.
So that could be something. That could be something else too. Let's talk about wood knocks. You mentioned wood knocks as well. So there's a lot of rumors that they would communicate through wood knocks, and a lot of like finding Bigfoot. Other researchers, they'll go hit trees to try to they'll try to wood knock on trees and hopefully get like a response back. And for example, finding Bigfoot, they'd get some response back. Can we say that was Bigfoot? No, we can't say undoubtedly that was Bigfoot. It could be.
It's other researchers in the woods also knocking on.
I always wonder about that too. Someone else is just like, it's communicating back to us.
And then they're yelling at each other.
Yeah.
They hear somebody else go, it works every time.
But I was listening to a Bigfoot researcher, and they just kind of pieced a couple things together where they noticed they would hear, 3 wood knocks, and then they realized there was 3 of them together. And then another time they'd hear maybe 5 wood knocks, and 5 of them were together. So now they do wonder, are these wood knocks, I mean, they may be forms of communication. It reminds me of that old TV show with Ron Perlman, Beauty and the Beast. Mm-hmm. They'd knock on the pipes in the sewers.
Oh my God, I remember that. Yeah,
I always thought about that. I always thought when I heard about wood knocks, it was that. It was Vincent, if you guys remember. It's a throwback. They would knock on pipes. That's how they communicate. And I always thought about that. Maybe they are. Maybe it's their type of Morse code. Maybe, or maybe that's how they're like saying, hey, there's 3 people down there. Yeah. So here's 3 knocks, just so everyone around us knows there's actually 3 individuals.
Well, yeah, they're probably watching everybody walking in, and so they're just knocking as they walk.
So now I think it's almost like coyotes or wolves. That's what they do. They howl. It's like that's their roll call. So that's how they know, like, hey, everyone's okay. Hey, you hear. That's why when you hear like coyotes or wolves, you hear them kind of sporadic after each other. That's like a roll call. So everyone knows, okay, everyone's here. And so now I kind of think maybe it's that type of situation. Like, hey, we're letting our other clan members up here know 3 people are walking their way. So that might be interesting. It's a little new information that's coming through.
So there was that one documentary on Netflix that we seen years ago. It was in 2017.
Yeah.
That was the Discovering Bigfoot with Todd Standing.
Mm-hmm.
And in that one, he was going into the woods for a few days.
Yeah, he did this multiple times.
Yeah, he's spending all day and all night there, and he's just studying, and he's actually like zooming in on Bigfoot heads. He's like, they're standing still, and they kind of just turn just a little bit.
You just see, it looks like you said their faces are furry, so it looks like a statue or something like that, or just like a piece of bark or wood.
Yeah, or like a thing of wood coming out of the
till
like
it
a
blinks.
Notch. Yeah, and then it blinks.
You're like, oh, what was that?
And then so he was actually getting some really crystal clear footage, and that shit looks real.
It's probably I've heard other people say this. It's some of the most recent best evidence they're seeing. Now they're not saying yes, Todd Standing is legit and everything he's providing is true. They're just saying it's some of the best newer evidence that they're seeing.
And I thought it looked amazing.
Is there anything from that episode that you really liked?
I remember he talked about where there was times where he would be walking out and it was almost like they were following him out.
Yeah, because he could hear them.
Yeah,
they were escorting him out.
Yes, like they were making sure his ass was gone.
Yeah,
and
because he would wear ghillie suits and hide too.
Yeah, and I don't think they probably like that.
So I remember one thing he showed that he was like kind of running and he kind of ducked. He was wearing his ghillie suit. I was like, I'm kind of sitting here. I think they're following me. I'm gonna kind of chill out for a moment. He's like, then I'll leap. I think they're kind of like they're right on my tail, and I don't like it.
What would have been really cool in that if he had some type of thermal video that he had behind him.
Yeah.
So you could kind of see if they were following him, if they were like kind of how they kind of followed and creeped. If maybe they were going from tree to tree.
Interesting.
Or if they climbed. I wonder if they climbed trees and if they were up in trees at times.
I got the impression from that they were.
Yeah, I got the impression that there's some in the trees. I wonder if maybe the younger ones, before they get too damn heavy and start breaking branches.
Well, Wes Gerber, he is the host of the Sasquatch Chronicles podcast, and he has shared his encounter, which got him into Bigfoot and Sasquatch. I think he said he saw them in trees.
Interesting.
And then they actually jumped on the hood of his car, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Yeah. And now he has a whole podcast about it every week. Every Monday is a new episode. But going back to this Discovering Bigfoot show with Todd Standing, he has some great evidence as well with night vision, and he put apples on logs.
I remember that. Yeah. So
Dude.
He wasn't even
Again, he's alone.
Yeah, he's alone. He's like somewhere off over here doing something else.
Has a fire going.
Yeah. And then he has this camera, night footage on these apples.
He put like 3 apples on the log.
Yeah. And you just see this hand.
And you see one kind of disappear. You don't see what happened to that one. I think he like walked by the camera. So like one apple's down, and then there's 2 more apples.
And then you just see this hand come in the screen, grab it, and pull it away.
Dude.
And he's over here.
Yeah.
And this hand is creepy. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah. So imagine that. So we're watching this. It's night vision. There's an apple on a log. You see a hand from behind the log reach over, grab it, and pull it away.
But imagine, look how close he was to him.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know he was there. He should have been able
10
to
feet
smell
maybe?
him. If they say they smell as bad as they do, you think he would have been smelling some stink ass?
I mean, I don't know. He's been out there for a while. Maybe he got used to it.
I've been vocalizing that. It smells like some real ass out here.
It smells real skunky out here.
Yeah, it smells like some skunky.
So that was really good evidence. So you guys should check that out. Discovering Bigfoot on Netflix. Is it still there? I wonder if it's still there.
I don't know if it is.
It was released only on Netflix at the time, but again, it's called Discovering Bigfoot.
It might be on some other things now. It might be on like Prime or Hulu by now.
It definitely could be. Definitely could be. Now let's talk about some of their vocalizations. We're talking about they do wood knocks.
Do a call for us then if you want to talk about it.
You guys didn't do bad calls.
Let's hear yours.
Squatch. Squatch.
You can't copy their calls.
So there's the there's the whooping, and then there's like almost like a drawn out holler.
Show us.
So the whooping is all right. Let me think. It's all right. Whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, 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 whoop. Something like that. Whoop. Something like that. So it's like a So it's like a whoop, and then you get the holler. That's the Bobo version of it. But there's also audio evidence of what they call samurai chatter. Have you heard this?
I want to say it sounds familiar when you said that, but explain.
So a few people have heard it, and it sounds like I don't know if it's racist or not.
It sounds racist to call it samurai chatter.
Because it's almost like when you're watching. I'm assuming it's like when you're watching like old Netflix shows or something like that.
Well, what's funny is that they call it samurai chatter. Like, are they trying not to be racist? Are they not trying to be like, sounds like some Japanese shit?
I don't know.
But instead they're like, samurai chatter? It's the stupidest term.
We can just call it, I mean, I guess you could just call it chatter.
Yeah, you could just call
chatter.
it like shit I don't understand.
Have you heard it? It's like it's like that. Have you heard any evidence like that?
No.
Yeah. So a few people people that live in rural areas where there's no one around, and they get this like these sounds.
Maybe samurai chatter. I don't know where they're getting samurai from in this.
Don't overthink it.
It's bothering me right now. Not that it's racist bothering me. It's just like, what?
I'm thinking they're thinking like it's an old samurai movie, and that's what they sound like.
Okay. Oh, so like the voice cutting in and out, like
Right.
the kung fu movies
Yeah.
and stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That was self-explanatory. Maybe not.
No, it
But
wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was. I'm
You're
just
thinking
really
racist.
trying to put it together. And why samurai?
Like, why do samurais talk like that?
Yeah. Like, what is going on here? It sounds like Chinese, Japanese. What's happening?
So that's why it's like old samurai movies. That's what they sound like.
Okay, so the voices are cutting in and out and not full tones.
Yeah, like you're not understanding. Like what? Like it sounds like two people are talking, but those are not words that I understand, and they don't sound like another language that I've heard before. It's like,
So that would make sense. See, that's what I had to get into. That's
Yeah.
why I needed to find out with the samurai chatter. So the high tones and the abrupt stops in the tones.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds like samurai.
Samurai chatter. Got it.
Exactly what samurais talk.
Exactly. I get now. It all makes sense. Thanks for clarifying.
And so it's interesting. Some people that have told their stories because they'll say, it was a big male. How do you know it was a male? Well, like
I saw his big old
dong.
He had big socks on. His dong.
And they see it. They're like, I can see it. I can see his appendage. I can see it. Or they've said it was a female. How do you know it was a female? And I've heard a few guys say this. Where they say, I don't know how to explain this, but she was kind of pretty. Like it was kind of pretty. And the one way I can think of correlating with this is maybe when you see like
More feminine.
Yeah, but maybe you'll see like Jessica Rabbit. She's hot, right?
Okay.
It's a cartoon though.
Well, yeah, but it's drawn hot.
And so there might be like where I'm not attracted to cartoons, I'm not attracted to apes, but I can maybe tell that something's a little on the pretty side.
Do that, ape.
Yeah. Or you've seen like a really puppy, right? Like, gosh, that is a good looking dog. It's like that. Like, it's a good looking dog in a show or whatever that you see. So I think that, and guys say, like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, I don't know how to explain this, but it was kind of pretty. It was a little attractive. And so, I don't know. I mean, there might be crossbreeding, so who knows?
Could be just a feminine male.
Yeah, maybe.
You think Squatch has homosexual squatches?
I don't know. I don't want to find out. If that's what you're really asking.
You want to see that appendage?
Oh, you want to hear some crazy stories, though?
What?
About Bigfoot?
Of course I want to hear some crazy
We're going to get paranormal now.
Okay.
So, we talked about their invisibility cloak, right?
Right, because they're magic. Okay.
Well, there are some talks that maybe these are extraterrestrial. They're not from Earth. They were brought here to Earth. And we were brought from another planet too. And they were also brought here. Maybe they came after us. Maybe they were during us. Who knows the timeline? But they might not be from here. And I've heard stories of people in back east. I can't remember if it might have been like Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, or Tennessee area where they've seen portals open and they've seen big feet walk out of them.
See, that's a different kind of Bigfoot.
Yeah, because that is back east.
That's the more magical. That's more of your Hogwarts.
type of cryptid.
Yeah.
Squatch
portals. Well, actually, here in Utah at Skinwalker Ranch, they talked about that as well, where there's portals and they've seen Squatch come out of it.
Right.
Now, here's my thing. I don't know if I would think that Squatch were extraterrestrial. I think we were more extraterrestrial than Squatch.
Well, it doesn't matter what you think. The truth is out there.
But that's just my opinion. I would think that we were brought here illegally, and then we just kind of took over.
Who knows? So some more paranormal things about Bigfoot is there are a lot of correlation where people have sightings of Bigfoot. They also see orbs at the same time. So they might see like a Bigfoot, they have an encounter with a Bigfoot that they see, and then like on the way back or as they're leaving, they see orbs.
Bigfoot ghosts. Bigfoot spirits. Maybe Bigfoot are surrounded by the spirits of their past ancestors.
Who knows? But there is a lot of stories that have orbs and with correlation with also seeing Bigfoot. There are also some more recent stories, because a lot of people think that we did an episode about Dogman, where Dogman is not a werewolf, because a werewolf is a human that turns into a werewolf and then goes back and forth. Dogmen are just their own cryptid thing. They're always just dogmen. And they're basically a cryptid that they have a snout, they resemble a wolf, a dog, and sometimes they're up on their hind legs and they can walk, but sometimes they're on all fours and they're, walking on all fours. So that's what a dogman is. And there are some stories that maybe Big Feet are almost like they use dogmen for pets. Maybe to go do like some recon work. Hey, go check this area out, see if there's any food, see if there's any people, come back, let us know. We'll go out there and hunt.
That's the other cryptid I remember. So when you asked me in the beginning if there's anything I don't believe in, Dogman is another one.
Why is that?
I just have a hard time with Dogman.
Okay.
I have a hard time with the hybrid.
It's not a hybrid. It's its own thing.
Okay.
Because again, that's what I'm trying to say. It's not a werewolf. A werewolf is a person that changes.
It's like part man, part wolf. Or it's
that's just how it's described. But we're not saying. But we can't say it is that. It's just saying that's the best way to describe it.
I guess we'd have to see how many nipples it has. If it has a row of nipples, definitely dog.
Definitely dog.
If there's two, it's definitely man.
Yeah.
So that's how we determine.
It's got like 4. Then it's a hybrid.
You're right, because everyone knows dogs have like 6 to 8, right?
And humans have 2, which can be milked.
Yes.
Same with dogmen; they can be milked if they got nipples.
Everyone can. But yeah, I have a problem with dogmen. I don't know. That one's just.
Well, I think it's because you keep thinking it's a hybrid. So throw it out of your mind. It's just something else. It's just a whole different cryptid.
But the other thing I have about it is, okay, there would have to be a lot of them, also to be more, to keep populating. There doesn't ever seem to be like a thing where dogmen are trying to stay hidden or try to be quiet. Whenever somebody encounters them, they're like, "Oh, I'm getting attacked by dogmen." It kind of just seems like they don't try to hide. Like there seem to be more evidence.
I don't know.
I don't know. When it comes to dogmen, I think there would be more evidence.
I'll tell you this. Friend of the podcast, Tony Merkel from the Confessionals podcast, give us a shout out. Big fan of the podcast. He did a recent episode, or I shouldn't say, but he's shooting a thing on dogmen. And he's also shooting another thing here in Utah, next to Skinwalker Ranch, about some of the crazy activity. It's actually one of the neighbors.
Yeah,
who also have
area.
So when the neighbors are saying, "Yeah, we get crazy stuff here too," they're going there. He's been doing a lot of research on Dogman because he's getting more stories for his podcast, The Confessionals, about Dogman. And now that he's talking more about it, he's getting a lot more stories coming in. Like, we see Dogman all the time. So I just think it's not as talked about as much. Maybe there's not as much history there, like where we have some footage of Bigfoot. Again, it's hard to tell what it really is, right? The Patterson-Gimlin is the best footage, but that's from the 60s. That's why I think it's still relevant today. Because that's a video evidence since the 60s. So that's why it's still being talked about. Where there's not, besides stories, there are no photos, blurbs, like blurry photos of dogmen that I know of. That's been
there's none
talked about. So So it's interesting. But anyway, there are stories today that saying that maybe dogmen and big feet are together, and
They're
maybe,
in cahoots.
yeah. But then the dogmen might be pets. So that's pretty interesting.
That's all we need is cryptids in cahoots and just running these streets.
Yeah.
That's gonna be bad news for everyone.
These streets. And again, we know that they're wide. They're like 3 to 4 feet wide in their chest. They're 7 to 10 feet tall. They can be massive. So, these are just some of the things that are more known about big feet and some more newer discussions about it that I think are pretty interesting. That we maybe need to go squatching.
Not in Provo Canyon though.
Not in Provo Canyon.
The redwoods would be a cool one.
The redwoods in California?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why do you say that?
The trees, they're massive. The
okay.
amount of hiding places is just insane.
Yeah, I think that's what they're looking for, right? Hiding spaces, food abundance. So people say, why is there no evidence yet? Why do you think there's no evidence?
I think they take care of each other. So like, I think they have like maybe
Like
underground, not funerals, but like if someone dies, they probably do something with
Like
the
a ceremony?
Probably not really a ceremony, but they get rid of the bodies. Like they do something themselves to get rid of the bodies, I'm sure, because that's why we're not seeing anything. They probably have their own system for that. But I don't know. I really think that the possibility of them existing is high.
Yeah.
Along with just evidence and sightings, just the type of creature that it is not unheard of.
Right.
It's not like a unicorn with horns and Pegasus
Right.
with winged horses and shit like that. No, it's actually just something that we know of.
Yeah.
Like there's apes, there's people, there's 8 people.
There was Gigantopithecus, again, that was also, I think that was also like 10 feet, 14 feet tall,
Yeah.
and it crossed plains. One, maybe the continents were more closer together. It crossed plains from Asia.
Yeah, just with the fact of the evolution of man and the different types of hominids, bipedal species that there were, there's just the possibilities there. And if anything, we were probably the ones that are not supposed to be here. Because there's that missing link. What brought us from that to this?
I don't think there is a missing link, though. I just think we're different.
We're different.
I just think we're different. Have you heard any like cool stories that you can remember that you'd like to share?
Of
Bigfoot. What do you think we're talking about?
Ghosts or something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have any news stories of Bigfoot that I've heard.
So I mean, like I said, I listen to a lot of stories. I do enjoy stories, and I've heard some. I've heard I've got a good story on a dog man.
That's for another episode for Dog Man.
That's for the past. We'll go back to the past.
Yeah.
But I've got one where this gentleman was getting a lot of lights, getting triggered on. Things were, I think maybe animals were missing. And I can't remember why in his backyard there was a hole, like a hole. So I don't know if he dug the hole or, hold on a minute. I wonder if this is a dog man story now that I'm talking out loud. This might be a dog man story. But I am, okay, going back to it though, I am hearing on my podcast more dog man stories though. I think people are more sharing some of these stories, and maybe they've been populating and
well, maybe
growing
we can
in numbers.
do another episode on Dogman and then hear some of these
Revisited?
stories. Revisited.
Dogman stories.
Yeah. Did we do one on the EVP or was it the other one? I think it was the other one. Maybe.
And we talked about it on this.
On this? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It
It was our first cryptid.
We're 110
discussion.
episodes deep. It's hard to keep track of everything.
Yes. I mean, there's a ton of stories. Like I said, these podcasts, and some of them are very popular podcasts that release episodes every week, and they have people coming on, and some of them don't want to say their name. They have nothing to gain. They're not trying to gain anything. Like I said, they're not saying their name. They just want to share their story. They don't want people to know because they're like, hey, I'm actually a cop. I don't want people at my work to know that I've seen this, even though other cops have also seen it. We've shared these stories, and like I said, if just one story is true, and these are places that there's no reason there should be an ape. There's not going to be a gorilla. There's not going to be a chimpanzee. Because chimpanzees, what at the max are 6 feet tall, at max.
Maybe not even that.
So it was easy to see, like, oh, that might be a person. These are like 8, 9, 10 feet giants. So if just one of these are true, then it's out there. There's stuff about Nephilim. Have you heard of Nephilim?
No.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's in the Bible. It's like some giants.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
tell you some stories. A lot of soldiers in Afghanistan.
I have heard
seen-
about that.
'cause they're
body,
like-
the skeletons.
And they found some huge skulls. They found caves. And there's a story that they did run into one in a cave in Afghanistan. And they killed it by basically shooting its neck and cutting its head off by shooting at it. Something like that. So there are some soldiers that have seen things in Afghanistan because there are a lot of mountainous ranges there. So it's interesting. I find this is my favorite cryptid, but I think it's the most likely
Yeah.
to be true.
I agree with that, being that this is the most likely. Yeah, I agree.
Because it was, and that was it. The question is it still around today?
Yeah.
Because it definitely did exist. So anyway, that is the Pacific Northwest Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, I think we should call that an episode. Yeah.
Yes.
So, well, everybody, don't forget to tune in to Instagram or YouTube or Facebook because
Where I'm
there.
posting on the daily.
Yeah. My brother over here, he's been doing all the posts for us, and he came to join us.
Yes.
So, all right, everybody, thank you again for listening and watching. Ghosty, don't play that.
Stay squatchy.